Hello, welcome to Her Journey Home. I'm your host, Sophia Noel Graniella. My mission here is simple: to hold space for honest stories and conversations that are usually left unsaid. This podcast is for the women in seasons of becoming, rebuilding their lives, reclaiming their voice, and remembering who they were before the world told them who to be. So come as you are, and let's begin the journey home together. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Her Journey Home. Today, I have on another very, very special guest. Her name is Simone. She is a psychosomatic transformational facilitator, the founder of YOGKiSOMA and Ripples in the Matrix. Now, I actually got to meet this beautiful soul at a somatic facilitator training in Costa Rica. And now I get to have her on the podcast. So this is a really full circle moment, and I cannot wait to have this conversation. So welcome, Simone, to Her Journey Home.
Hi, I am so excited to be here, Sophia. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I've been really looking forward to this conversation. And it's even more special when I get to meet someone in person and then have them on the podcast. So I first want to ask for the audience, for anyone that's new to you or just getting to meet you through this episode for the first time, give me a little background on your work, how you would describe your energy, and what it means to you to actually be a yogi.
Yeah, okay, well, first and foremost, I actually don't necessarily consider myself a yogi. When I think of the word yogi, I feel like that is reserved for those that are literally they've achieved samadhi. They're not even on this plane anymore, like Baba Ram Das, or these figures that not necessarily they're like gurus, but their actualization has been completed, and or they made it. They made it. And it's a path. It's truly a path of life, the yogic path. And I feel like I am humble enough to actually say that I don't feel that I am a yogi. Yeah, so I have been integrating somatics into my style of teaching yoga ever since I didn't even realize that I was actually. And it wasn't until we were in Costa Rica that I was like, I've been doing this whole time. And now I have new tools, new languaging to actually acknowledge what it is that I've been doing. And my work is really about assisting people in their journey to self-actualization. They're walking the yogic path to self-inquiry, self-realization, for self-mastery, to become their highest and greatest best self. And allowing that support system for spiritual mentorship and guidance, and along the awakening journey that just is life. And YOGKiSOMA is a method that I birthed that integrates energetics and somatics with yoga, not only asana, but also the other limbs and the other paths of yoga. And yeah, my work is really about, you're about people coming home to themselves. I just so resonate with that message. And as we were talking a little bit earlier, right, of really just it's always there. And it's for us to remember and to uncover. And I really feel that that's one of my gifts, is holding space for people to just remember who they are and what's already within them, and to empower them in actualizing their power to take that leap of faith. And whether that's on one of my spiritual excursions or through my yoga teacher trainings, or however people just are gravitated to work with me, I'm here for it.
Oh, I love that so much. And this is the perfect conversation for Her Journey Home because, as you know, this entire platform and podcast is to help women on the journey back home to themselves. And that can look so many different ways for different people, right? So I have women from all walks of life come onto the podcast like yourself, and they all have a very unique method to help people come back to themselves. And so your method, YOGkiSOMA, I'm really curious what makes it so unique and so different than other yoga teaching methods out there, because I know there's so many different types of yoga, and I'm definitely not a yogi myself. And maybe there's some women that listen that are, maybe there's some that are not. But what makes it so unique and different than what's out there?
There's many different types of like somatic yoga ways and things like that. But what I've found in taking yoga classes and how focused on the structure and it's very masculine. It's very masculine. And we're here for it. Especially the feminine, we need the masculine, and the masculine clearly needs masculine, all of those things. But like the body is really about movement. The energy is about movement. And if we are in these like very linear structured poses, in my opinion, walking the path of yoga to actually inquire, this really was birthed in yin, in yin, and as I was teaching it, and because I'm able to like pull different things in. But what I was really starting to notice that my way was so different was because of the movement that I would incorporate, while simultaneously bringing in very specific questions and questioning to help people's minds like kind of like, oh, get curious and like, let's walk down this path a little bit. Oh, like what about what's over here? And coupled with very specific movements. When you think about yin, you think about stillness. You think about literally, I call it time out. You're sitting in it. And if your body is asking you to move and you're saying, no, you need to sit here. The teacher's saying, no, I need to sit here. And you're listening to that. Do you think the body's actually going to trust you even more? Do you think you're actually like, it's like, hey, I'm not, there's a difference between having something be painful and having something be like uncomfortable. And simultaneously, you can realize how uncomfortable something is, and you can maneuver into it to not avoid, but to deepen so that you can address the very part of you that is asking to be seen and to be witnessed right here because it's uncomfortable, and you can actually pull it with you along the journey instead of being like, hey, no, like I was told to sit here for 5 minutes. And what are you thinking about the whole time? Wanting to move, not wanting to be exactly where you are. And when I realized that, because I mean, I take other people's yin classes and things like that, and I get compliments of like, there's no class like yours, and this, and like yours is, and I'm not hierarchy type of thing, but like I'm like, I have people telling me that my way is quote unquote better than like the person I learned from, and I'm like, hold on, like I can't accept that. I can't be, Then I started to take it from like just a, kind of observer perspective, and I was like, oh, there's some, like, I can actually see some differentiators. I can actually feel into what is different here. Transitions, pockets for integration, like actually allowing the energy in the body to catch up to each other. Different ways of inflection, voice inflection to deepen or to journey, or to, direct, and also spark those curious moments and things, and give space for things to be what they are, not what I want them to be as a teacher, but what just actually is, while simultaneously really knowing how to hold the space for people to keep growing through whatever is here. And from that, having it just be so solidified in yin over the years, when I first was, because that's all I would teach was yin initially. I had this whole complex of I can't teach anything else other than that. And so we moved beyond that. And then I actually started to notice I could apply this same thing to other types of, in like vinyasa and hatha, and it just has grown, and where I really start to bring in like different energies, like a polarities, like extremes of things. Like last week and the week before, we did for the Manipur chakra, the energy of like rage and anger And we juxtapose that the week prior with insecurity and self-doubt. And then today actually worked on like our coming to our center and power. So like actually being able to feel these different ways of being in your body and noticing how that arises in your system.
Wow. I need
Yeah.
to take one of your yoga classes because what you explained is the exact reason why I'm not a huge fan of yoga.
Mhm.
Because I feel like I've taken a couple of yin classes with candles and super mellow and beautiful, but there would be certain poses that I would be in and I'm thinking in my mind, okay, when is this going to be over? And my mind gets really, really loud, but it sounds like your method blends that somatic piece where you can have that deeper integration and you can actually be there to help with the questions, right? And connecting to your own source of power. And I haven't heard it explained that way before. So that's really incredible. And what I'm curious about now is obviously there's been a journey that got you to a point where you could even birth this into the world. And oftentimes we go through spiritual awakenings and points in our life that completely crack us wide open. And all of a sudden, we never see the world the same. So
Yeah.
I would love to know if you can take us back into your awakening journey. And I know that you took a trip to Egypt as well. So if you can just expand on that and how that shaped you and brought you to where you are today.
Whew, how much time we got?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
joking, I'm
girl.
joking.
Spill it all.
So, okay, I mean, actually literally right around this time of the month in 9 years ago in 2017 was my very first trip to Egypt. I was never supposed to go. I was invited to go from a then a situationship ex situationship situation. And I had it was like I want to clear my karma. And that person knew that I would not go anywhere else other than I wouldn't say yes to any other place other than that, than Egypt. And I was like, oh man. And I ended up asking my grandmother, who actually like sparked my curiosity with Egypt, or probably sparked like had my soul remember my origins from there. She used to travel to Egypt and do 2 week long layovers, flying for TWA. And she had just came down with a diagnosis of cancer. And I was like, fuck, like I'm going to take time away from, being with her. We don't know how much time we have and etc. And I told her about the opportunity and she was like, go, like, go. It's going to change your life. Like, oh, I'm getting emotional. And she actually helped me plan it. And, her idea of Egypt and what like drew her to it so much was all about Cairo and all the shop owners that she got to see and be with and all these things and like all the relationships that she developed and all of the that she'd have tea with everyone. You sit down and like, so she was like, you need 5 days in Cairo. She needed 5+ days in Cairo. I needed all the time as possible in Luxor, but she had no idea. And so I had Cairo planned, but I didn't have Luxor planned. We get to Luxor, and mind you, prior to this, like I'm living a double life. In 2016, I just got my attunements for Reiki. I am, I'm living in Las Vegas, fast money, fast everything, fast lifestyle. Um Lots of partying, lots of late nights, early mornings leading into, 3-day benders and, somehow coming home with $10,000 and we're great. It's great. But all this, we're just have all this, like, we're just numbing ourselves. And all the while I'm telling everyone, yeah, I'm practicing Reiki and like, I'm a makeup artist and like, okay, like I'm glad so many people believe me for so long. All the things. Again, I'm in no way a yogi. I'm real. Like I'm a human, and it's fucking great. But anyway, so I'm get off the plane in Luxor, and I'm standing there, and there's like all of these um taxi cab drivers, and one of them ends up coming up to us because everyone's like, "Hey, pick us, pick us, pick us," and one comes up to us, and I'm like, "Wait, we're just gonna go with him." And the guy that I'm with, he's like, "Why? What are we doing?" I was like, "We have to pick someone. He just picked us. Let's just go." So we go, and we had, again, no plan. The driver asked us like, what are we doing, while we're here? And I was like, "Actually, I don't have a plan. I'm gonna go to the front desk and talk to them tomorrow morning." He's like, "No, no, no. I'm going to be here." Mind you, picked us up. It was like 12 a.m. Picks us up, and he's like, "No, no, I'll be here at 4." And we're like, "Can we go to sleep?" Like, we have like no time to land. He's like, "Well, I mean, it's going to get hot. I mean, it's middle of April in the desert." And I was like, "Oh, shoot. Okay." So I think he picks us up at like 5 or 6. And we end up doing the Valley of the Kings and go to all the tombs, or not all the tombs, but we see like probably 3 of the tombs. And I'm just like enamored in awe. And like, I immediately start getting these mannerisms of like my hand on my heart, like just like gently bowing my head. And mind you, I'm barely practicing yoga right now. Like, I am like just kind of like taking classes. I go to a studio that has fitness and yoga classes. I'm gearing more towards the fitness classes. Like, I'm not really, like, I'm going to, some metaphysical stores and things like that. But like, as far as I'm doing yoga and I'm a spiritual, whatever, like, that's so not where I'm at in this portion of my life. And then the taxi cab driver was like, "Let's go to this my friend's alabaster shop. We can cool down and get some tea or like something to drink. You can look around and just you can, have a second before we go to like a temple or something." I'm like, "Okay." Show up. The owner's not supposed to be there. He's supposed to be out of town. And of course the owner's there. And he starts looking at me and he starts talking to me, and he's talking to the person I'm with as well. But he's really, you can tell that there's like this draw. There's this like energetic draw. And he's like, "What do you do? Like, who are you? Like, you have a lot of power that you're not using." And this is like something that people say to me all the time. And I'm like, "Really?" And I'm just like, I just try to downplay it a little bit, or just like act like I don't know what he's talking about, because I don't really know what he's talking about at this time. And prior to all this as well, like, one of the things that I was like trying to work on, or that I like just could not seem to grasp, was when I would go into meditations, I could imagine things, but I couldn't see them. Like, say if you're like, "Oh, like I'm walking on a beach," I could like think about walking on a beach, but I couldn't see the scene. And so I told him that. We ended up going in. He invited us to his little like room, his office, that where we ended up meditating. And he does his own meditations here. And like, we drop in. He asked what I see when we're done, and Oris comes and literally like lands on my forehead, wraps his wings around me, and I tell him, and he was like, "Oh, well, right underneath here is a temple that I moved my shop. It was going to be on the other side of the road. It's here because I was told to like preserve this space." And something having to do with Oris. And I was like, "Oh God, okay, here we go." Like, here we go. As things would happen, he told us another temple to go to for the day. He like asked what we were doing this evening. Again, we have no plans. And he's like, "Well, why don't you come let's do dinner on my boat on the Nile." Okay. It's the Libra full moon. We're sailing down. I'm a Libra sun. And I'm like, "Of course, like, we're just sailing down the Nile." Like, of course, this is amazing. Then the next day, he tells me, he was either like, "You neither need to go to Dendera or to Karnak." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you tell me, because I don't know." And he looks at me and he like kind of like sizes me up, and he's like, "You need to go to Karnak. You need to go to Karnak, go to the far left corner." And I'm like, "Anything else?" I've never been here. And he's like, "You'll know." I'm like, "Okay." mind you, we get there, it's huge. Karnak is one of the largest temples in the world. And I'm like, I just start beelining it. I don't know anything that I'm passing. We don't have a guide. It's literally just us. I get to what I think is the end, and I see this couple walking towards me. So meaning like there's things further, but like you're looking around and it's just like rubbish. There's nothing. There's rubble. There's kind of like half made things. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep going. Apparently I can keep going. So, and mind you, like the workers there and the culture there is very alive. It's very eager. Like anytime you want to do anything, they ask you for money. Like, sure, but you gotta pay. Gotta pay to play. Like, and so I'm standing there and I like see this worker walk by and he's smoking a cigarette, and he I'm like, I ask him and I stop him. I'm like, I was like, can I keep going? He's like, yeah. And I look over and there's this little, not little, but there's a space, and there's a gate in front of it. And I'm like, what is this? And he's still kind of walking. I was like, excuse me, can I go in here? And he's like, sure. Like, just no resistance, no nothing. Like, if you want. And opens the gate. And I'm like, I look in and I was like, I think this is it. Like, because I looked around, I was like, this has to be it. I don't know what it is. I still don't know what it is. I sit down and I immediately get this purple light drop down through my crown, out and through my third eye, purple, white, purple, white, purple, white, and just like blasted the fuck open. And I was like, oh God. And I look up and I look behind me, and there's like these doors. And I ask the guy, I'm like, what is this? He's like, the 7 gates of Osiris. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Like, here we are. Here we are here. We are here. And from then on, nothing has been the same. Like, we go back and we see the man who sent me there. And again, he's like referring to me and my power. And he's like, you're supposed to bring people here. You are literally you are meant to bring people here. You have so much power within you. And he's like, and I can tell by the way that, not that you're like pushing it to the side, but by how you hold yourself, that you are like, you're a leader. And whatever it is that you're doing, and he called me out and he's like, whatever it is that you're doing in your life right now, like, it's going to start to fall away. It's going to start to strip away, because what you are meant to do is bring people with you to actually experience what you just experienced. And lo and behold, lo and behold, my first spiritual excursion that I ever led was back in 2022. And that was all about me stepping into my power, like people seeing me a certain way, and I was just kind of like, like, no, because like and Egypt, meaning Egypt, she just activates the parts of you that you don't even know are dormant. And she gets into those little nooks and crannies and crevices. And I will say, like, because it was shortly after Egypt, I was lying in Shavasana when I came home, and I heard this message when I was, again, I was sitting and lying in the studio, and it was like, this is what you're meant to do. And I was like, what? Like, you're meant to teach yoga. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can barely do a chaturanga properly. Like, you want me to teach yoga? I was like, no, this is where you can, like, create the impact and give the messages that you, and share your wisdom, and like essentially like gather your people. I was like, oh man, okay. Okay. I had just been doing yoga for a couple of years. I go to a yin teacher training. I'm the only one who's never taken a full yoga teacher training. And I'm hearing all these Sanskrit words. I have no idea what they're saying, no idea what they're talking about, but I'm watching but I can read the body. And I'm like, well, this makes sense next. If this is what we're doing, if this is how we're playing this little game that you guys are doing right here for sequencing, well, like this makes sense. And I remember catching a glimpse of the trainer, teacher, one of my mentors, like watching me this whole time. And I was like, I don't, again, like there's just like this knowing that kind of like, I'm totally projecting, but that just people have this knowing that I know. And it's about me coming into this awareness that I already know, kind of like what we were saying earlier, like like the remembrance. And I mean, from there, that was in 2018. I mean, talk about quick, because that was April. So about a year later, I did the yin teacher training. The end of that year is when I did my first 200-hour yoga teacher training. I mean, and then that just sent me on an entire another inward spiral of awakening. Yeah.
Wow. What
Yeah.
a fascinating
Yeah.
story. I had full body
Yeah.
chills when you talked
Yeah.
about the man just letting you into that temple with zero resistance and the
Yeah.
purple light coming through you. And now you're hosting an experience in January in Egypt. Is this your
Yeah.
first one that you're going to be taking people with
No,
you
this
to?
is my second. My
Okay.
second. Yeah, and I learned a lot from that first one because Egypt was my very first spiritual excursion I've ever ran.
Wow.
And since then I've done 4, international. I've done Bali twice, I've done Tulum, but I learned so much from that first one in a way of like, I mean, she's hard. She is relentless. You are going from, like if you're gonna go, you gotta go. You gotta do the things, you gotta see the things. And every place that you go, you get hit energetically. Like your
Mm,
system is constantly getting upgraded or dismantled or whatever it is that you need. And so I decided for this one, and yes, there's about 13 days of a journey, 12, 13 days of a journey, but it's an entire 6-month portal. So there's a
wow.
3 months of preparation, 3 months of integration to really ensure that that you're prepared. And also, we get the group dynamic things, funky things out of the way as much as possible.
Mm,
um and really just see what wants to come alive for you, with you, what is not coming with you, like this
mm,
is because again, she's not for the faint of heart, but she's for those that are, you know she qualifies the called, like truly the journey qualifies the called. And those, I mean, you'll never be the same. Like you can't be the same, which is like what's so powerful about
oh
it.
my gosh, it sounds so powerful. And Egypt is somewhere that I want to go during this lifetime because I've done quite a few calls with intuitive healers
Yeah.
and I've been told that I have deep roots in Egypt.
Mhm.
So there's definitely this part of me that has that call to go. And I know that energetically it's going to shift something on such a deep level. I would love to know from you, with some of the incredible humans you've taken to Egypt, what have been some of those energetic shifts or those changes that you've witnessed or that they've witnessed within their own life?
Yeah, I would say a big one was like stepping into the power of their voice. When I brought my group, there was um, a moment when I entered into the king's chamber and I immediately got drenched in sweat. And it was like I got baptized, and it was like, oh, you're here, you're back. When I was there the first time, it was like divinely orchestrated. We got like ended up completely solo. There was no one else in there, and he got freaked out, and I end up in the king's chamber completely by myself. I'm like, oh God, okay, hi. Like, we're right at the center, at the apex. It was like, you're here. And shortly after, we make the journey to Luxor. As soon as I get on the plane, my throat starts to clam up. We get off the plane and my voice is gone. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, again, I could have never prepared for that. And I now have to lead this group, right? And watching the individuals, because it was both men and women, really orient themselves in such a way, like the group field is so alive. And also the things are always shifting. Egypt is doing her work to shift things as well, but then simultaneously, like, watching people like orient and like how do they actually want to be here. And from then, I mean, I see one of the women as well, like, she ended up going for her doctorate. She ended up doing yoga, her own yoga teacher not creating it, but going through her own yoga teacher training. Again, really stepping into the power of her voice. Finding Reiki, like, she went through a Reiki training with me. Another individual, she ended up becoming nomadic and like just and traveling the world and just following the calling of her soul. And again, deep-seated things that they had no idea were actually there until Egypt sparked it within them. Another person I just found out went through her own yoga teacher training. She went through one. Like, again, like, things just like activating their spiritual journey. I have a very good inclination that, like, Egypt is the origin of their just a massive timeline split and shift.
Wow. There's so much to say about this. And I've heard this about Egypt, but hearing it from you and your own experience of going through your spiritual awakening, and then having all of these women that have gone on these excursions with you, and the fact that they then connected to their calling and what they're meant to do in this world is so incredible. And that really leads me to another question that I've been excited to get into, because I feel like there's a lot of the performative spirituality out there, right? People that are almost just faking it a bit. And so I'm curious, for someone that's listening to this podcast and she feels a bit disconnected from herself, maybe her voice, or she's stuck in this performative spirituality, how can they begin to come back to true embodiment?
That's a good one. Thank you for that question, because I see that too. Like, I see that in so many ways. I see it with people like on their yoga mat, right? Like, if it's not perfect, there's shame involved and intertwined in it. I can like hear the hardness, and the inner critic can just get so loud. And the very parts of you that you're trying to perfect are the very parts of you that are asking you to accept them exactly as they are. And it sounds so easy. One thing that really happened to me and revealed on my mat was when I was seeking the validation outside of myself, and I was seeking it from every other person, and my entire system and my entire body, every single time I got on my mat, would just shut down, and I would start bawling. And I, like, for an entire year, I was bawling every single time I got on my yoga mat. And it's just at the studios that I teach at, and I'm doing well as a teacher there, and I'm also completely breaking down. And I thought it was just first I thought it was Scorpio season, and then I kept going, and I was like, oh, it's because I'm going through my Reiki master training. Nope. And then I was like, oh, it's because of this. Oh, it's because of this. And I'm like, oh, it's been like 6 months. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and that's what really brought me home to my body, and brought me home to the truth of my emotions, and the truth of like what was actually desiring to be witnessed, and coming into an acceptance of what was there instead of a trying to push it away and a disconnect and prove and let me force and let me be what I'm actually maybe not right here right now. And when I allowed for that part to come through, it got to the point where I was standing at I was taking a class, standing and looking at myself in the mirror, and I heard this little voice and it said, you know, your students don't need to see you like this. Just show up to class to teach and um, do your home practice, and that's it. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh wait, they actually need to see this. They need that permission slip. They need that, you know, it's okay to fucking fall apart and pick up the pieces and decide how you want to put them back together. When you can realize that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, like everything shifts. I remember when I was going through that process, one of the women that I spoke to who is insane at like physically at asana, she was like, Simone, do you realize how many firsts you have that you get to look forward to in your practice? Because like I'm like just now getting crow. Like I'm there's this like I'm running yoga teacher trainings and I'm like just now getting quote unquote advanced asana. Like, and that's the thing, what actually is advanced. And the advanced is actually coming is the ownership and the self-validation instead of that external validation. And you know, my question would be to the people that, you know, that are in this performative energy of spirituality. Who are you without the crystals? Who are you without the mala beads? Who, like, what do your practices actually look like without all the excess? And show me that. Like, show me how you walk with peace, but also show me how you walk with anger, and not just the quote unquote light. Like, show me how you also work with the quote unquote dark, because that's really where the alchemy is the remembrance that they're just simply the same thing on different ends of the spectrum. And when you can actually like lean into that, like, again, are you like, do you want to be real with yourself? Are you actually a yogi, or do you just like saying that you are?
Oh, so much gold. And I think it's really important to ask, who are you when nobody's watching you? Because as you said, you can have the mala beads, you can have the crystals, you can have your altar, you can have all the things. But is this you trying to cover up and look a certain way? Or is this deeply integrated into who you are and your life? And I think there is a lot of that in the space. And I've personally never gotten into the crystals or anything like that, because for me, I've been on my own self-actualization journey and my own self-discovery journey, and I've never felt the need for any of it. But for those out there that feel like, you know, they have all those things, but behind the scenes, they're not showing up to their practice consistently. They're not actually being that person. They're not embodied. It's time to really get honest with yourself. And that's the uncomfortable thing that a lot of us don't like to face. Is I can keep putting on this show, I can keep performing, I can keep showing the world that I'm this person, but at the end of the day, people can feel that energy. They can
Yeah.
feel if you are walking a path of embodiment and you are truly being who you are, even behind the scenes, or if you are performing this version to look a certain way to the world, but behind the scenes, you are not that human and you are not embodied. So I think that's a really important part of today's episode. If you take anything away from today, let it be that. And we're starting to wrap up now, but I have two more questions for you. So I would love to know, you always talk about the fact of remembering that we are God in body. So I would love to know, what does that actually mean in a more grounded, lived experience kind of way?
Yeah, I mean, we are creators. We are literally, and from, you know, we are God experiencing itself. I mean, but even further beyond that, you are the one creating your life. And when you live from that remembrance, I remember saying this like years ago, but it's like almost like we're doing our soul, and if you believe in God, it's like we're doing ourselves ultimately a disservice by playing small, by not remembering that you do have agency and ownership over this life. And every time I say this, it just like it brings me back to my own reality check of where in the healthiest way could be doing quote unquote so much more. And when I really anchor into I am God in body, like there's nothing that I can't do except for just, especially if I attempt. And the more that I continue to push through the resistance, there I actually will succeed as long as I don't stop. And no matter how many times I quote unquote fail, like there's wisdom along the way, etc. Maybe I might fall out of love with the thing and like, okay, cool. Then that's like, there's my stopping point. But like, you actually have so much more agency. I don't necessarily like the word control, but I guess it fits right here, over your experience than you likely are giving yourself credit for. And then when we remember that we are God in body and we live from that truth, we're living in our power. We're living in the energy of anything is possible. So what do I want to do with all of this possibility? So what do you want to do with all of this possibility? It's a great question.
Oh, so good. And I hope everyone listening to today's episode starts to ponder on that question a little bit of what is it that you want to create in this lifetime? Because as you said, we have so much more agency than we ever give ourselves credit for. And so many of us have so much inner power and potential that we haven't even started to tap into yet. And I think God in body is such a beautiful way of saying that, because genuinely that is exactly what we are. And for so many years, I was more of an atheist. I didn't really have a belief system. And now as I've gotten a deeper connection with myself, I've started to pray every morning and I've started to build a deeper connection with source, God, higher power. And I've started to realize, wait a minute, I haven't even started to implement so much of my potential and so much of what I actually have within me. So for anyone listening, start to get really curious with yourself of what is it that I want to create, because we are the creators of our world and our reality. And together we can make this such a beautiful place to be within ourselves, coexisting with other people, and just creating a world that's incredible. Oh my gosh, so good. Okay, so
So
I
good.
like to wrap up every single episode with this one question, which is, what is one powerful message that you want every single listener to walk away with today?
What is coming in is the thing that I have been like closing the majority of my yoga classes that I lead and that I've led ever since I started teaching in 2018. And that is, I firmly believe that the work you do on and off of your mat creates ripples in the matrix, and together we are changing the world. Every single step you take, every move you make, every decision, every choice, like it's all rippling and it's all going to add up, and it all adds up, even in moments you don't see it, you don't know how, but like keep making waves, man. The ripples are going to reach so far and wide into places that you'll never actually maybe touch, but your energy and your essence will.
Oh, full body chills. Go out and create ripples in the
Yeah.
world. Wow. This conversation has been so powerful, Simone. I feel so honored that I got to have you on the podcast. But before we go, please tell the listeners where they can find you. How can they work with you? How can they sign up for your Egypt excursion? It all sounds incredible.
Oh my gosh, honored. Like I'm so glad this like finally aligned and we are here. I mean, yes, Instagram ripples in the matrix, all one word. My website ripplesinthematrix.com. send me a DM. Let's chat and talk about Egypt. If you're aligned with her journey home, you are aligned with Egypt. I also, if you are intrigued about yoga, not only just as, being a teacher, deepening your practice in any way, I do have my method, YOGkiSOMA, as a 200-hour yoga teacher training and a 300-hour option. So those are available as well. Again, send me a DM or go to my website, and I can't wait to hear from you guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all of your beautiful
Thank
wisdom,
you.
Simone. This was incredible. I will link all of your details in the show notes below. So, for anyone feeling that pull to go to Egypt, to join her yoga teacher training, please go ahead and reach out to her. And oh my gosh, this was incredible. Thank you so much.
So great. Thank you.
And for anyone listening, please go ahead and like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast. Share this incredible conversation with your community. And as always, I will see you for another conversation next Thursday.